I'm Bambi Francisco with Vader News with this segment of Lessons for Entrepreneurs, and I'm speaking with Kevin Chou. He is the founder and CEO of Watercooler. Kevin, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
Give us 3 pieces of advice that you've learned, or 3 lessons learned that you've learned in this short period as an entrepreneur. This is your first time.
Yeah, absolutely. The first, and by far the best advice I ever got was put a great team together. And especially your first co-founders and your first employees, it's so critical to get a group of people that you really enjoy working with and that are passionate and good at what they do. Because every startup's going to have its ups and its downs. And through the whole thing, you want to make sure that you're working with people that you really enjoy working with, you have a lot of respect for, and hopefully you all have fun together and actually hang out and enjoy each other's company. Because during the tough times, that'll get you through all the tough times. So that's by far the most important thing. Not picking founders based on their resume or something, but really focusing on what that person's going to be like working with you and what that person's going to be able to contribute to the company. So I think that's by far cannot overstate how important that is. I think the second is to really have a good game plan in place. And by that, I think that it's really important to think about a certain time frame that your company can accomplish something. So if you think about a company as kind of a 10-step process, you want to have some vision of what you're going to be at step 10, but what you really want to spend most of your time on is thinking about steps 2, 3, and 4. Right? You want to be executing step 1, and then you want to be thinking about 2, 3, and 4. And you really don't want to get too ahead of yourself, have too grand ambitions for the type of resources or the types of things that you can accomplish, but really be focused on the next thing and the next thing that you could be doing to really add enterprise value to your company and be able to do those things and execute them well to be able to keep continuing to progress as a company. So I notice a lot of entrepreneurs, they try to think too big, or sometimes they're a little bit too tactical, and they're not thinking far ahead enough, or they're thinking too far ahead. As a CEO and kind of founder of the company, you want to make sure that you're about 1 or 2 steps ahead of the rest of your team, so that you're able to provide the right type of guidance, management, and vision for your company. And I think the third thing is, especially in this environment, to really be focused on revenues. So for a lot of consumer internet companies, they get started, they get funding to create this project, they start getting some users, they start getting some traction, and that's great. I think a lot of companies have done this successfully, Twitter probably being the big company today that's getting a tremendous amount of success, but the question is, how are they going to monetize? And I think Twitter is going to be a very successful company, and they'll figure something out. But for a lot of companies that don't get to the level of traction and public recognition as Twitter, even if you get to a smaller scale in terms of traction, a lot of companies are floundering at this stage, just to say, because they haven't thought about the revenue and the way that they're going to monetize their business early enough. And I think you can never start focusing on revenues too early.
And, start today.
Start today. Start talking to customers. Start talking to people who are eventually going to pay you, and figure that out before you get too far down the road. Okay,
you are a former VC. You jumped to the other side. I don't know if you want to call it the dark side. I guess you'd call the VC side more of the dark side. So you jumped over to the operational role now inside a company. Do you have any advice to other VCs who may be thinking about leaving a VC position and starting a company?
Absolutely. I think everyone should do it. I think especially as a VC, I think the VCs that I worked with before that I really admired were people who had started their own companies or been very early employees at companies and have built up real companies. Because and I'm sure now that you've been doing Vader, you kind of know what some of the challenges and obstacles and things that you have to do. And until you do it, you can never really understand what it's like. And the VCs who have not been in a startup operational role, I think, miss a little bit of something. Now, that's not to say that there's great VCs who haven't done it, but I think the really good and great VCs out there that have been in an operational role are just so much better at what they do. And so I think for me personally, as well as for my friends who have kind of left the VC world to create our own companies, I think it'll make us a much stronger venture capitalist if we were to ever go back, which is something that's not out of the question. Right.
So if this doesn't work, there's always venture capital for you. Anyway, Kevin Chou, thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Kevin Chou. He is the CEO and founder of Watercooler. I'm Bambi Francisco.